Good morning. It's time for another morning Bible study. I'm your host, Logan McCulley, and today we're getting into Proverbs 26, and we're going to get into it just straight away this time. However, I am going to start with the breakdown first for the first 12 verses, because it's explaining the intro here a little bit. So in Proverbs 26, starting with the breakdown. In verses 1 through 12, the fool is described in every verse. Most verses compare aspects of natural order that are violated with the behavior of a fool. The deteriorating nature of foolishness is seen as the description progresses from drink to vomit. So we're talking about the progression of a fool in the first 12 verses. Now this is a continuation of Solomon's second wise sayings. Remember, we had the first wise sayings, and you had some other collections of wise sayings, and then now Solomon's second wise sayings. So, verse 1, Proverbs 26. As snow in summer and rain in harvest, so honor is not fitting for a fool. So, as snow in summer, it doesn't belong. As rain during the harvest, it doesn't belong. So is so is honor not fitting for a fool. So the honor and the fool don't belong. So, that's an interesting comparison. The breakdown. These damaging incongruities of nature illustrate those in the moral realm. The damaging incongruities of nature. It shows you those that are also incongruities in the moral realm. Verse 2. Like a flitting, F-L-I-T-T-I-N-G, flitting sparrow. Like a flying swallow, so a curse without cause shall not alight. I'm going to look at the breakdown. Curse without a cause. A bird's aimless motion without landing is compared to a fool who utters an undeserved curse. It does not land either. Oh, interesting. Okay, just like the birds that are flying around that don't ever land anywhere, so will a curse uttered without a cause. It will never find where it's going for. So if you get cursed by a fool, don't worry about it. That's why they say let it roll off your back like water off a duck's back. Don't worry about it. It's not going to find you. That's a promise from God. Verse 3. A whip for the horse, a bridle for the donkey, and a rod for the fool's back. That is a good comparison of tools being used properly. So the whip goes to the horse, the bridle goes to the donkey, and the rod goes to the fool's back. And that's kind of been a theme here in Proverbs about not withholding the rod and the proper use of the rod. And this is just comparing it to, the other places that tools should be used. A proper place for a proper tool. I'm going to do 4 and 5 next. Do not answer a fool according to his folly, lest you also be like him. So don't answer a fool according to his folly, unless you be like him. Proverbs 5. Answer a fool according to his folly, lest he be wise in his own eyes. Answer a fool according to his folly. The first one says, do not answer a fool according to his folly, unless you're like him. This one says, do answer him to his folly, unless he's wise in his own eyes. All right, let's look at the breakdown. Taken together, these verses teach the appropriate way to answer a fool. An unbeliever who rejects truth is in quotations. He should not be answered with agreement to his own ideas and presuppositions, or he will think he is right. But rather, he should be rebuked on the basis of his folly and shown the truth, so he sees how foolish he is. Okay, so let's think about that. If you have a fool who's saying dumb stuff, if they say there isn't God, right? Like if they're like, oh, I don't believe in God. Don't agree with that. Don't accept that. Like if I ever hear anyone speak blasphemy, I'm like, hey, no, we're not going to say that. No, that's not how this works. Come on. Because I don't want them to think that's okay. Because it's not okay. Now, this is straight up saying, though, even in the small things, if you hear a fool saying foolish things, you're supposed to rebuke them. Because if you don't, he's going to think he is right. That's the key. It's not that, oh, I'm trying to be nice by not starting a fight or an argument or whatever, or a conversation. It's you have to, or else he's going to go around thinking that he's right. And you kind of just maybe lost someone. So, like, if you've got a lost person that thinks they're lost and they say something that says, hey, I'm a lost person, I don't know Jesus, I don't know God, and then you don't address it, you are not sharing the gospel. I'm not sharing the gospel. Because sometimes I don't want to engage. I don't want to start that conversation with, like, you can't, sometimes I say this phrase, you can't help stupid. Like, there's some things you just can't help stupid. But when it comes to God, I feel like we are commanded to try to help stupid, even though sometimes I feel like it's a losing battle. And sometimes I'm like, man, do I really want to engage with this conversation? Do I really want to open up this door right now? Sometimes not. I'm going to be honest. But it's pretty clear that I should. Even when I don't want to, especially when I don't want to do that. All right. Let's do 6. He who sends a message by the hand of a fool cuts off his own feet and drinks violence. It's pretty straightforward. Don't send a message by a fool. Like, don't use a fool. Don't trust a fool. If you do trust a fool, it's like cutting off your own feet and then drinking violence. Let's see what the breakdown is. Self-inflicted wounds come to ones who choose to depend upon a fool. That's pretty straightforward. I think we can agree on all that. It doesn't matter. Let me be straight. It doesn't matter if we agree, but like I like it when like you can logically think your way through where you're like, okay, like, yeah, that makes sense. Okay. I mean, the hard one, wisdom, I'm sure is more important, but sometimes it's just nice to understand a good Bible verse. Verse 7. Like the legs of the lame that hang limp is a proverb in the mouth of a fool. So, I think of a paraplegic, okay? The legs don't mean nothing. The legs aren't useful. The legs actually kind of get in the way. So is a proverb in the mouth of a fool. They've got the words. They've got the stuff there, but it's useless. They ain't know what they're doing. That was so country. They don't know what they're doing. That's what I meant to say. I'm going to get there, guys. Verse 8. Like one who binds a stone in a sling is he who gives honor to a fool. Okay. Binds a stone. It is nonsense to fasten a stone to a slingshot so that it will not release, so it is nonsense to honor a fool. What's it say exactly? Like one who binds a stone in a sling. So literally tying the rock to the, I'm going to say slingshot because I understand slingshots better. I mean, it's, one's like this, one's pull back and go. But you're going to tie that marble, because I use slingshots, that marble to the slingshot. Doesn't make any sense. Why are we doing that? It defeats the whole purpose of the slingshot. How that is like giving honor to a fool. And that fool is the lost person. That's interesting. Okay. So let's just think about like Hollywood. Okay. Let's think about Hollywood. You've got all these lost people who don't give honor to God. Okay. That don't know God, that aren't Christians, are lost. We have these big award ceremonies. And we award these people with money. We give them money for their time and their effort playing these characters. And I mean, they're good at their craft. They can play a good character. But if they're lost, what does that do? Like, what does that do for the person? It doesn't help them find God. It doesn't help them understand how the world actually works. They're rewarded for being fools. And it's just like, it's a what am I trying to say? Like it keeps pushing itself further and further down the road. It's its own machine of insanity. That's what you're doing when you honor a fool. That's how we've kind of gotten. I feel like that's where we've gotten in this situation when you honor these fools. It's like let's think about like transsexuals, like people who change their gender, that you can change their gender. We people honor these people. Like, you don't honor them. Why are we honoring them? Stop that. Like, As a Christian, you know that's wrong. God made a man and a woman, and a man's supposed to be married to a woman. It's simple and straightforward. And then I go for my medical brain, I'm like, this was like a legitimate, like DSM-5 or 4, whatever, psychiatric issue. Not that long ago. If you talk to any doctor off stage or instructor at some of these colleges off stage, you're like, what are we doing here? If they're not being recorded and you've got a good relationship for them, most of them say, I don't know, it's crazy. It's crazy. But they, in public, they still support it. And you keep pushing these fools, putting them on these pedestals. There's no reward for it. There's nothing good. You're just helping more people find their way to hell. That's what happens when you honor a fool. Isn't that crazy? Like, I've honestly never thought about how did we get in this situation? Because I've been mad before. Because I'm like, there should have been someone other than me that's been like, no, I refuse to like talk crazy to crazy. Like, what are we doing here? Like, you're either XX or XY. Like, there ain't no change in that. Like, there's literally no change in your genetics. Can't do it. So we can move some meat here and move some meat there and like give you a bunch of hormones and cut stuff off, put stuff on, but it doesn't change it. It doesn't change it. You can change the appearance, but it doesn't change it. I've been mad at people before because I was like, why is this on me? But what's happened is other people have let or honored fools, have let other people honor fools. So you don't have to be the one to honor the fool, but you're letting other people honor the fool. You'd be like, hey, call them out on that. Like, I'm not saying that person's bad. The sin is bad. Like, get after the sin, not the sinner. But you still got to call a sin a sin. I mean, it's kind of mind-blowing to think about it. Alright, let's just move on. Let's move on off that. Get off the soapbox. Verse 9. Like a thorn that goes into the hand of a drunkard is a proverb in the mouth of fools. There is no breakdown of that. Like a thorn that goes in the hand of a drunkard. So, I don't know, let's say I'm drunk. I got a thorn in my hand. What, you're inebriated. You're kind of like out of your, not really, or out of your mind, not sober. You can't really get the thorn out. It hurts. It's there. Okay, so that's what I think of when I think about a thorn that goes in the hand of a drunkard. It's the same as a proverb in the mouth of a fool's. Can't do anything with it. It's there, but, I mean, you don't have the dexterity to get it out. That's what I think of when I think of a thorn in the hand of a drunkard. Useless. Verse 10. The great God who formed everything gives the fool his hire and the transgressor his wages. Let's read that again. The great God who formed everything, so God, gives the fool his hire and the transgressor his wages. The breakdown. The Hebrew language is obscure here so as to produce many interpretations of what this is saying. Since it is impossible to know what is said in the original, it is impossible to know exactly what it means. The translation might be, much brings forth from itself all, but the reward and wages of the fool pass away. That's one translation. This could mean, reasonably, that although he who possesses much and has great ability may be able to accomplish all he wants, that is not the case when he makes use of his work of the fools, who do not only do not accomplish anything, but destroy everything. The fool only doesn't accomplish nothing, but then destroys everything. That's so interesting. How dangerous a fool is. That's an interesting verse, isn't it? Open verse. Verse 11. As a dog returns to his own vomit, so a fool repeats his folly. Whoo, man, isn't that some clear picture of what happens? As a fool returns to his own vomit, so a fool repeats his folly. Peter quotes this disgusting proverb in Peter 22. That's the breakdown. Ding, ding, ding. That's going to be our Bible verse today. It's like it's in your face. I like it. That is our verse for today. Write it down. Proverbs 26:11. We're going to move into verse 12. Do you see a man wise in his own eyes? There is more hope for a fool than for him. So a man that sees himself wise in his own eyes, there is more hope for a fool than for that man. All right, let's do the breakdown. There are degrees of foolishness, with intellectual conceit being the most stupid and hard remedy. This is applied to the lazy man in verse 16 and the rich in 28:11. So, what are we saying? The person that sees himself wise in his own eyes, if you ever think you're smarter than everyone else, there is no hope for you. Sometimes, it's going to sound bad. Sometimes I have felt like that. I'm like, what are these idiots doing? What are we doing? Like, what's going on here? Like, I don't know when that started. I remember that when I was working, like, in my first, 5 years in healthcare, I was like, oh, man, I'm so dumb. Like, I don't know anything. And there's something that changed. And I think I knew enough at that point that I thought I knew more than I did. Well, then also, the flip side of that is I always said you don't know what you don't know. But then the people I started working with seemed stupider and stupider and stupider. But now I've gotten to the point where now I'm, learning from nurse practitioners again, and I'm like, I'm dumb. So I don't know if that's an effect of the people I'm around, or just me growing, or me becoming a Christian, because I've only been a Christian for about a year now. So I don't know what has changed in me to kind of start calling myself out on me thinking I'm smarter than other people. I don't know. But I'm getting better. But I went from working at a level 1 trauma center to doing dialysis, and the people in dialysis are not that bright sometimes. They don't know anything except dialysis. I'm the only licensed one in the facility. There's a lot of things that go with that. But if anything, I've had a good kick in the teeth recently of how much I don't know. And it was good. It's been good for me. It really has. It's called me out on where I lack and where I suck. Verse 13. Let's keep moving on. All right, so we're going to do 13 through 16. And this is talking about the lazy man. The lazy man says, there is a lion in the road, a fierce lion in the streets. As the door turns on its hinges, so does the lazy man on his bed. The lazy man buries his hand in the bowl and wearies him to not bring it back to his mouth. The lazy man is wiser in his own eyes than the 7 men who can answer sensibly. All right. So we've read something like this before. We have. Let's go back to where did we read that exactly? It was either 6:6 or 11 or 22:13. Let's try Proverbs 22:13. Yeah, so in 22:13, that's exactly where we've read this before. And again, 22:13 to... well, it's just 22:13. The lazy man says, there is a lion outside, I shall be slain in the streets. Okay, the breakdown. The lazy man gives lame excuses for not leaving the house to work. All right, so we've heard that. We've heard that before. It also says, as the door turns on its hinges, so does the lazy man on his bed. He's not getting out of bed. He's just rolling around in bed. That's not good. The lazy man buries his hand in the bowl, and it wearies him to bring it. He's so lazy, he can't even feed himself. That's how bad this is. The lazy man is wiser in his own eyes, so he thinks he's wiser than 7 men who can answer sensibly. I think that's important, because we're not saying 7 other fools. We're saying other good, reasonably rational people. You still think you're more sensible than that person. Because it's I think it's important that we should all be able to, when we hear a rebuke, go, what are they saying? I don't think everything you hear has validity. I don't think that. But I do think that if someone says something to you, it should perk your ears up and just question yourself just a hair. Just perk your ears up. If 2 people say it, you need to really look hard on yourself. Get some of your loyal, but your very good advisors, the people you can trust, the people that are smarter than you, your comrades, to come in and be like, hey man, is this true? Do I really suck that bad? Your ears should perk up when you hear something like that, and you should question it. The lazy man does not. Because if he did listen to it, he would have to change something, and that's not what the lazy man's going to do. Now, verse 17 through 28, I'm going to read the breakdown intro. Here is a picturesque discourse on the evil speaking of a fool and lazy people and its harmful effects. So verse 17 and 28, we're talking about lazy people, fools, and their harmful effects of their speech. Verse 17, he who passes by and meddles in a quarrel not his own is like one who takes a dog by the ears. Okay, so the breakdown. The dog was not domesticated in Israel. Okay, and thus to grab a dog was dangerous. The aggressor deserved to be bitten for his unprovoked act. So what are we saying? So, he who passes by and meddles in a quarrel not his own. So if you see two people fighting, I'm like, oh, hey, we got to stop this right now. It's also like the same situation I think of like if you're someone that concealed carries and you see an argument. I don't know if you've ever gone through like concealed carry training, but there's a video they show you. They show you a video like, what do you do? How do you intervene? And the video they show you is, it's like a woman and a man fighting, and the man grabs the woman, throws her up against a car. All right? And then it's like, what do you do? The correct answer is like, call 911 and wait, because you don't really know the situation. The situation, if you're to intervene and like take down the guy with your pistol, the actual thing that was happening was the woman was attacking him with a knife. You couldn't see the knife at the time. All you saw was him pushing her off of her, and the dude had like a big laceration on his belly. So you don't know what's going on, and I think that's a good identifier of like, hey, just because you walk into what you think a situation, the worst thing you can do is get involved in that before you know the whole story. So obviously, I don't think you should let people get murdered or hurt or anything under your watch, but also don't just jump in both feet guns blazing before you know that the dude's the aggressor and not the woman. Anyways, so you just jumped in. So he who passes by and meddles in a quarrel that's not his own is like the person who takes a dog by the ears. You deserve to get bitten. That's also a good verse. That's also a very good verse. Don't get involved in other people's mess. And again, also think about that when you talk about relationships. You don't know what a relationship's like on the inside. Like, outside in, I don't know if people think like I'm dominant or Jennifer's dominant or she's funnier or I'm funnier or who's more romantic. Like, I don't know. I have no idea. I know what it's like though. Okay, so like if someone's like, I don't think I'm honestly, I don't know, I always say I'm not the dominant one, and then Jennifer's like, I mean, what if I told you like, hey, you go do this, but that's not going to happen. I think she thinks I'm the dominant one, and I think she's the dominant one sometimes. Kind of. Like, I treat her like a queen. I want her to have all the things that she needs. I want her to be happy. I want her to be well taken care of. I don't know. Like, I don't see myself as the dominant one. Let me put it that way. I don't see myself as like an authoritarian. Because this is a team. Like, I need my partner strong. Like, something that kind of aggravates me. It's like, some men, I feel like, want to handle all the finances. I want to have a large portion of responsibility on the finances, but I want there also to be a mutual portion of responsibility. I want us both to be on the same page, because what happens if I die? I want you to know where the money's supposed to go, where the money's at, how it should be invested. I want us to have this open conversation, because of what if I make a mistake and where I'm putting our money. I want there to be a high level of mutual responsibility on our finances. Now, who pays the mortgage? I don't care, but I do want that, like, those second eyes on how we set up the budget. Jennifer doesn't necessarily want that, so it ends up being me making more of the investment decisions. And it's like, is that good? Is that bad? I don't know. But I don't know. We were talking about outside looking in kind of stuff. Relationships, you never know what's actually going on there. So it's not necessarily a good idea to stick your nose in it. And in fact, it says, especially if you see like a quarreling relationship, it's like one who takes a dog by the ears. You're going to get bit. So sometimes just being there, support, is about all you can do. Offering help, be like, hey, if you need anything, I'm over here. If you need anything, I'm over here. Just, just lightly walk away. Like, there you go. Passing by, hey, I like to bring, like, when people are sick and stuff, I like to bring, like, a pineapple. Because I just like, hey, here's a pineapple. It's already cut up. It's good. It's delicious. It's sweet. Let me know if you need anything else. Boom, done. Okay, I don't want to get too much involved. We're good. But that's, keep getting awful and tangent on that one. Now, let's go ahead and move into verse 18, okay? We're actually going to do 18 and 19. Like a madman who throws firebrands, arrows, and death is the man who deceives his neighbor and says, I was only joking. Okay. The serious damage done by deceit cannot be dismissed as a joke. Why does this make me think of those prank shows? Like those serious pranks. Like, you ever seen like that tattoo show? And like, whether tattoos are wrong or not, I don't know. But you'll see like the best friend picks the tattoo out for the other friend. Like, oh, we're friends. Like you can tell me what kind of tattoo. Tell them what kind of tattoo I want. Like, I get it for free. It's a whole show. It's a whole thing. And like, I remember seeing this video. I'm sure you've seen it. Like, the dude got a tattoo on his belly, and it ended up being like a cat with his butthole being the belly button. And the guy was just so distraught. The guy was like, I was just kidding. I mean, that's a pretty serious step into a friendship. Like, that friendship will never recover. You cannot trust that person. But even like the smaller stuff, is it worth the person who, so let's pause. Let's see what the actual verse said again. It's the madman who throws firebrands, arrows, and death. Okay. So it is pretty serious. Is like the man who deceives his neighbor and says, I was only joking. Whatever that deceit is, you can't just say, I was joking. It doesn't matter that you were joking. Let me read the breakdown one more time. The serious damage done by deceit cannot be dismissed as a joke. Whatever that deceit is. Whether it be, hey, I'm going to put a nice flower tattoo on your belly and you get a cat's butthole. Whatever that deceit is, it cannot be dismissed as a joke. And that makes me very, very suspicious of those people that have done that or that do that. I don't have any of those people in my life. I like to keep a very good, tight-knit group, but I'm sure they exist. All right, let's move into verse 20 through 22, actually. It's 3 verses. Where there was no wood, the fire goes out, and where there was no table bearer, strife ceases. Or tail bearer. Don't know what that means. Verse 21. As charcoal is to burning coals and wood to fire, so is a contentious man to a kindled strife. Verse 22. The words of a tale bearer are like tasty trifles, and they may go down into the innermost body. All right. So, I don't know what we're talking about, to be honest with you. So, the breakdown is out of 1628. Oh, and it also says down here below that, slander fuels this fire. So, we're talking about slander. All right, let's just go to, what did I say, 28. All right, 1628, let's read it. A perverse man sows strife, and a whisperer separates the best of friends. Okay, the same root word is used for the release of flaming foxes in the grain fields in the Philistines. A slanderer or gossip for the same Hebrew term. Oh, that was actually a different verse. All right, so that didn't help too terribly much. The other one that we need to look at is 6:14. Proverbs 6 was a pretty hefty one too. It's got a lot of stuff we reference out of it. Alright, 6:14. Perversity is in his heart. He devises evil continually. He sows discord. The breakdown. The sin of strife, dissent, or creating conflict intentionally recurs in Proverbs. Alright, so I'm getting the drift that all of this is about causing strife, causing dissent, causing a lot of issues. Alright, so Trifles says, see notes on 18:8. The words of a talebearer are like tasty trifles, and they go down into the innermost body. So this is verbatim one of the verses that we just read out of 26. What's the breakdown? Let me find it. The tasty trifles, this word. This comes from a Hebrew word meaning to swallow greedily. So talebearer, I think, are the gossips of the community.
Talebearer.
Oh, so literally we're saying like a tale, like a fairy tale. A tale bearer is a person who maliciously gossips or reveals secrets. All right, so let's reread it, hearing all that stuff. In verse 20 is where we're starting. 26:20. There is no wood in the fire that goes out, and where there is no talebearer, strife ceases. So if you get rid of all of your gossips, strife's going to cease. As charcoal is to burning coals, and wood to fire, so like the stuff that comes before the fire, so is a contentious man. So you have to have the contentious man before you have the kindle strife. So to kindle strife, you have to have the contentious man. To have burning coals, you have to have charcoal. To have fire, you have to have wood. A contentious man will create strife. So contention is not good. Talebearers are not good. The words, this is verse 22, the words of a talebearer are like tasty trifles, and they go down into the innermost body. Gossip does stick to you, doesn't it? It doesn't just kind of roll off your back. It's not like someone talking to you. It sticks. It's like it sticks to your gut. I don't like that. I don't like how it sticks to you. So it's saying, be careful. Be careful with that. It'll stick to you. Verse 23. Fervent lips with a wicked heart are like earthenware covered with silver dross. Good night. Can't even say silver. All right, what does that mean? Let's hear the breakdown. Earthenware covered. A cheap veneer of silver over a common clay pot hiding its commonness and fragility is like the deception spoken by evil people. This is thought to be expanded in the next few verses. So what are we saying? Fervent lips with a wicked heart. So lips that fervently speak about God, love, and all this nice stuff. However, that have a wicked heart. It's like earthenware, which is cheap, it's fragile, it's common, it's not of good quality, covered with cheap silver, with silver dross, because dross, we talked about that before, is the stuff you got to move away to get the good stuff. It's the junk, so like silver junk. That's what's covering the earthenware. So it sucks. You're just cheap silver over that. You're just putting it sounds like putting lipstick on a pig is what it sounds like. Fervent lips are like with a wicked heart is like putting lipstick on a pig. It's still a pig. You can cover it up however you want to. It's still a pig. It ain't what you're looking for. Verse 24. Let's do 24, 25, 26. He who hates disguises it with his lips and lays up deceit within himself. When he speaks kindly, do not believe him, for there are 7 abominations in his heart. Though his hatred is covered by deceit, his wickedness will be revealed before the assembly. There's no breakdown on that, but let's think about what it is. So if you hate and disguise it with your lips and you lay up deceit within yourself. When you speak kindly, or when the person that is laying up hate in his heart and has that deceit around the hate, when he speaks, do not believe him, for there are 7 abominations in his heart. Though his hatred is covered by deceit, so you know his hatred is covered, it's hard to see. Though his hatred is covered by deceit, his wickedness will be revealed before the assembly. I hear this, and I think about people in churches that do this in churches. So like there's hate, there's sin, they're hiding it, they have the heart problems without addressing the heart problems. We all have struggles. Let's be very clear on that. We all have struggles. We all struggle with sin, like we are broken. There's people that don't ask for help, don't read the Bible. Like we're gonna stumble, we're gonna suck, but like how far do you stumble? Like I just think about these people in churches that do like really bad stuff, and like there's precursors to cheating on your wife. Like there's precursors to stealing money from the church. There's precursors to I don't know what other things like happen at church. All the bad things. There's precursors that happen before the final act or the thing. It doesn't just happen once and done. Like there's things that happen. So like the temptation is there first. So I feel like if you see the temptation, you should safeguard against it. Like talk to your buddy. Like we are meant to be a community for a reason. If I'm struggling, you got to have someone you can be completely honest with. Like no holds bar, completely honest with. And be able to trust them too. Like it's hard to find that person, but it's so important because eventually, and here, so like there's those people that exist. If I know I have struggles and I know that I need help, so I try to keep those people in my corner that I can trust, I can ask questions to. I've got some good mentor in my life. If you're one of those people, find those things. Like, right? Like just stop, pump the brakes. Hey, I've sucked. Like I need help. It's okay. You're supposed to ask for help. Like that's the whole point of having a community. Now, flip side of that, if that person exists, so like now we're talking about the person who doesn't ask for help, who is being tempted by the devil and the devil's winning. The good news is they will be eventually revealed before the assembly. Now, we're going to know who those people are eventually. The bad news is they're still going to exist. So like, if you have a church big enough, you're going to have people that are hypocrites. That's the word I'm looking for. So the good news is they're eventually going to be revealed. The bad news is that they're there. That's it. That's the kit and caboodle. Verse 27. Whoever digs a pit will fall into it, and he who rolls a stone will have it roll back on him. So whoever's doing something will have something come back on them. Breakdown. The ruin intended for others will come back on the one who spoke it. So, okay, I thought this was people who were setting a trap for somebody. And we're saying whoever sets a trap, like a pit, will fall into it. Whoever sets a trap with a big stone, it'll roll on him. Don't trap people. Verse 28. A lying tongue hates those who are crushed by it, and a flattering mouth works ruin. A lying tongue hates those who are crushed by it, and a flattering mouth works ruin. You know what flattery is? It ain't good. I actually got into not an argument, but a clarification with someone that I was at. It was one of my instructors from school. I was talking up to one instructor about another instructor, and I said, yeah, man, she is like thebomb.com. Like, I really appreciate her. She is awesome. And the other instructor was, all right, you flatter, you brown nosing over here, aren't you? I'm like, it's not brown nosing. It's called a compliment. She goes, flattery? I go, no, it's not flattery because it's true. So you start in the realm of truth. Everything I'm saying is true. It just happens to be true and nice. Therefore, it's a compliment. Flattery means it's not true and still nice, and I'm expecting to get something out of it. None of these things are happening here. So, it's a compliment. Thank you. It just struck me. I didn't like that woman. I'm so sorry. She rubbed me the wrong way, and maybe I should have been a little bit nicer, but I was like this, you being rude to me ends here and now. Don't know why I got off on that, but that did happen, and that was crazy. It actually happened. So that's the end of 28. Woo-woo, we did 28. Let me tell you about what I did this past weekend, and that's where this happened at. The Mid-South Mission of Mercy. I don't know if anyone's ever heard of this, but it's like this huge, cool, free dental care thing that they do. Because dental care is a huge issue in people that are underserved or lack resources because Medicare doesn't cover it. So Medicare doesn't cover it. People will go and get tooth abscesses. Medicare will cover the antibiotics, but it won't cover getting the tooth pulled, right? So they'll just have an abscess. They keep getting antibiotics and antibiotics, antibiotics. Someone needs to pull that tooth. And that's what happens at the Mid-South Mission of Mercy. People show up at like the day before, camp out all night, just so they can get free dental care. And like all these different dentists and stuff come from all over the area. And what I've understood is it goes from like big city to big city. And like they took over a gym with like 100 procedure chairs. I was on part of the medical team just clearing people to say that they're okay to get their teeth worked on. I mean, it was my first year doing it. It was a heck of an operation, dude. It was huge. It was awesome. I'm glad I got to get back a little bit. And if it ever comes to your town, I'm in Memphis. I heard it goes to Little Rock. I'm sure there's other things that give out like free dental care or free health care. I mean, it was 1 weekend of my time. I spent 2 days down there, and it was a great experience. It was a great experience to be able to give back to everyone, but it was also a great experience to meet up with other people who are nurses or nurse practitioners or doctors that also give back. So like, it was a good to get into that community of people that want to give back. So that's something that's cool to look into in your area if you've got it. If not, I don't know, maybe make one. Bring it to your town. I'm not a dentist, but if you are a dentist, it's something to look into. And if you are anything, you can still volunteer time. If you're doctor, nurse, EMT, hygiene, whatever, there's a spot for you there to volunteer. And it was great food. Just saying. So that's it, guys. That is Proverbs 26. Thank you for joining me. Share this with a friend and keep me in your prayers. Logan out.